Welcome, Aniket. Thank you so much for being here and making the time out of your very busy schedule, which I know takes you to many, many cities.
Thanks, Rishi. Always a pleasure.
Let's start at the very beginning, right? 2018, when you joined the Acumen Fellowship, you were at an early point in your leadership journey. So, what made you apply for the fellowship and what did it do for you at that point, early on?
So, Rishi, when I applied for the fellowship in 2017, Hagdarshak and myself in my own journey, we were very early on.
Yeah.
And the thing that intrigued me the most about the fellowship was the opportunity to be in the same room with the diversity of the cohort.
Yeah.
There is no other place that I know of where you can be in the same room like that of a government official, a civil society leader, an activist and a social entrepreneur.
Right.
Look at the same problem, but look at the solution very differently.
Yeah.
And that is the reason I applied for the program. And I think I gained a lot out of that 1 year. In fact, by the end of the year, that was the reason I was able to look at the problem in a more purposeful way, I would say.
Yeah.
At the same time, because it's a for-profit enterprise, matching the for-profit and the social purpose was something that really with the cohorts feedback and the dialogue that we had really helped me scale up. Yeah. And overall with the moral leadership compass that the fellowship program brings in, that's something that is very core and true to what we do at Hagdarshak with our vision and mission.
Right.
So that blended really well together.
So I think this is the right time to introduce what is it that Hagdarshak does. Tell us about Hagdarshak.
Hagdarshak essentially works with the vision of ensuring that every family in India gets access to the right welfare programs, and in the process it enables that they live a life of dignity, basic social security, basic rights, entitlements. In India there are over 10,000 government programs. Yeah. So the first step that we do is digitize these government programs, because even in a country which is the IT hub of the world, correct, these programs are not digitized. Yeah. So we've done that step by step for every state, and today we have 7,500 programs on our platform, and then we have also digitized them in 16 different local languages. Again, with the diversity that our country has, every state has their own state language. So we've tried to pick the top 15, 16 and digitized in them, apart from of course Hindi and English.
So that's 7,500 schemes in 16 languages.
16 local languages, apart from English. Yeah. And the second step to that is the core rules engine. So how schemes work, the eligibility criteria is more like a probability theorem. If and or conditions. If you belong to a certain income level, right, or to a caste and of a particular geography, correct, that is when you get the government program. Yeah. So we have to digitize them as concepts and build a technology platform where as you give the input of your information, the eligible programs show up. So it's like just if you were to go to any algorithm and put an input of your basic information, it shows up the programs that you're eligible for. And then we've also built an agent platform for the last mile service delivery, where the women entrepreneurs are trained in rural India, who are the service agents for the doorstep delivery. And these women agents that we have are first time digital users. So it's the first time they use a smartphone. A lot of them have never even used internet or any other digital resource. So we start from that basic training. Wow. And in this process, they are also able to earn a basic livelihood and, from the service delivery.
Yeah. So you're taking this complexity, which is 7,500 schemes across 30 states in 16 languages, and you're sort of reducing it to a technology platform so people can deal with this complexity and find out what it is that they're eligible for, and you're supplementing it with a network of female agents who work as entrepreneurs in rural and semi-urban areas.
Yeah, it's very interesting because when we started off, we never thought that we will only work with women entrepreneurs. Yeah. It was actually an Acumen Lean Data study that we did even before I became a fellowship. So actually that was in fact one of the earlier work that we did with Acumen.
So you mentioned that the Lean Data study was one of the reasons that you decided to go with female entrepreneurs. Yeah. So what exactly was it? What insight did you gain which made you take that decision?
The Lean Data survey actually was done to figure out what could be the right profile of a rural entrepreneur to be solving this problem. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing that it showed was that female entrepreneurs in rural India would really be impacted the most with this kind of, positively impacted with this kind of an opportunity. because of patriarchal reasons, they do not get out of the village. So this is an opportunity for them to be champions of social security, welfare delivery in their communities, and that's how we really started focusing on training women entrepreneurs. And today we have trained 10,000 women.
Incidentally, I know this, but for the benefit of everybody, what does Haq Darshak mean? Could you tell us a little bit more about the name?
So Haq in Urdu means your rights, and Darshak in Sanskrit means the individual or organization which shows you the path. So Haq Darshak essentially means the organization which shows you the path towards your rights and entitlements. So
yeah, that's a wonderful name. That's why I deliberately brought that up. I wanted people to sort of know it's a great name. The next question that I have for you is, what has scaling meant over the last 5 years? What kind of scale have you seen over the last 5 years, and what has been the biggest driver of that scale?
So when we started off, it was a really challenging time, because just to even get a single partner to believe in the idea, and we literally I myself started working on the problem by focusing on 5 families in rural Maharashtra.
Oh wow!
The first time I went in, screened them, tried to get them access to government programs. This was in 2016. Till about 2018, we were impacting 5,000 families a year. As we speak, we impact about 100,000 families a month. And it has taken a lot of focus on identifying our failures, process, building on technology, and also, like I already mentioned, the focus on training women entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That has really resulted in the kind of scale that we were able to achieve.
Yeah.
And identifying the bright spots in our entire process. And in the process, working with the right kind of stakeholders.
Right.
We have made those mistakes where we have worked with partners and it hasn't worked out. But we've really also been lucky to work across the spectrum with right from construction companies to gig economy platforms like Uber. We worked with government platforms. We worked with the Gates Foundation. Because one common point across these partnerships has been that the pain point and the problem is common. Everyone wants their workers, the informal segment and the rural families to get access to welfare programs, because that leads to better productivity, that leads to better outcomes. So we've been able to work with these fantastic partners and build the solution in a way that it solves that problem very directly. And today we work with about 85 partners, where we work with them in getting the workers and these families access to programs, and we are looking to scale that up even further.
Yeah, so really interesting. So the process, the product, and eventually the partnerships, right? And I think this was one of the major reasons that, from being a fellow, you moved to being an Acumen angel investee, and then from there you moved to being a pre-series A investment, a pioneer investment at Acumen. I think one of the big things that all of us saw was that this is applicable for a wide range of demographies, from casual laborers, who are very much at the most vulnerable level when it comes to people living below the line of poverty, to gig workers who are essentially lower middle class in India and considered upwardly mobile. Really interesting to hear you talk a little bit more about that. So now, if we talk about scale in the context of, say, the future instead of the last 5 years, what do you see over the next 5 years? What are going to be the critical levers of scale? And what are the partnerships that you think that are going to be essential going forward?
So in India's context again, right, 100,000 families a month or a little over 1 million families a year is a drop in the ocean.
Correct.
Because we're talking about 800 million citizens who need access to these programs. So I think one thing we've proven now is that the model works. The technology works. It's a sustainable, self-sustainable model. And now we are really looking at pushing for a Haq Darshak 2.0 literally, where we can start working with 10 million workers in the next 3 years.
Wow.
And then scale up to 100 million.
Wow. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, Aniket. And we wish you the very best for your future pursuit, and everyone at Acumen is, as always, rooting for you.
Thank you so much, Rishi.
Thank you.
you.